Hello, Michelle Ray here from the Center Within. Welcome to February 2019. I hope your year is off to a good start. It has been an incredibly powerful start to the year for me and many of my clients and students. There feels like there's an upsurge or an upgrade of energy and creativity and innovation that's available to us now during this time. I'm not sure how you're seeing it in your life or if you are, but one of the things I've noticed is that those of us paying attention and in this mindfulness way of living routine have started to notice new ideas, new ways of looking at things, new perspectives. It reminds me of the times that multiple inventions were applied, patents were applied for. There's like this infusion of information, maybe because we as humanity are ready for it. And there's innovations and inventions that are at the cusp of us understanding and bringing in to and through us in our work, in our service. And one of the unique things I'm seeing about this time versus other times is that it's often based on collaborative projects. In my own life, it's been very fun to have this gentle nudge from a variety of ways, at least a dozen ways professionally, to be invited to step forward and create some online courses. And I have a love of health and wellness coaches, of which I am one, and been invited to create some continuing education programs for that group of population, and also for those spiritually seeking and seers, and really understanding from a mind, body, spirit perspective what is occurring on the planet and how to navigate it, the uncertainty, the chaos, and the transparency, and all involved and commingled and simultaneously is the sense of new possibilities and new ways of doing things and new paradigms that are coming into being and often in these groups. So I wanted to talk this time and give you a couple more stories of clients and friends about how this is coming into our own life, but talk about how you access and receive this subtle energy that's happening. How do you know these subtle ways of knowing, intuitive and coincidences and synchronicities? So we can actually cultivate that process, open our perceptive capacity to being able to participate, to be able to apprehend and make that energy, that information, those insights accessible to us by creating a condition for this vessel, this sacred vessel, for us to be in a receiving mode, both ascending and receiving mode. So I'm going to walk you through my favorite way to do this and tell you a couple more stories. And then there's going to be another link here in my blog this month where I'm trying out some new sound equipment, and I'm going to record a meditation with this process. So if you're interested in playing with that through a meditative perspective and mindfulness perspective, it'd be great to have you try it out and get your feedback. So for me, the process involves getting quiet. And sometimes my inner mind, right, is a lot noisier than my even physical environment. The wind is blowing outside today, right? But it's not as nearly as distracting as my own thoughts can be. So to find a space and place and time and create as much relaxation as possible is very helpful. Then I will find my breath. A few deep breaths in and out. In with a fresh, new openness, and out with anything that feels tight or constricted or used up or worn out. I will then often do a body scan just for a half a minute even, from head to toe, and just through that breath, breathe into those spaces, right, and relax them and open them and soften into a more porous condition of giving and receiving. Often for me, next, I'll place my attention on my heart center, that energetic portal and opening that connects us to our multiple dimensions of ourselves, our mind, our body, our heart, our etheric body, our soul, and beyond to other dimensions and other beings and other ways of knowing, that center within. So when I get there, I will often cultivate that by remembering a person or circumstance that I really am grateful for. If you haven't explored heart math, it is a wonderful biofeedback mechanism for you to kind of practice becoming more in that state of gratitude, which adds coherence and resonance of calm and peace throughout our body. Our biorhythms actually change. It's fascinating. So from that place of centered peace, I will move into imagining or inviting a question or concern come to mind that I'm looking to give and receive information. So what do I really want to know? What is the edge of that in this example I've given about my work? It's, what do I want to know about next steps for that? The new year, what's bubbling up inside of me to create and share with the world? How can that information be used for my highest good and the greater good of all beings? That's the posture that I hold when I open to these multiple ways of knowing. And then we pay attention, right? We pay attention what's happening in our feelings, our thoughts, our bodies, sensations, what's arising. We want to allow that energy of what we're putting out there, our question, our concern, or what we want to know. And then also simultaneously paying attention to what comes back into our awareness. And for me, it comes in a lot of different ways. It can come from subtle information like an image will pop up all of a sudden, or a memory that doesn't necessarily seem to be related to my intention. It can be a color, a shape, right? Symbols, a story. It can be a thought or an idea that seems to come from nowhere, right? As information, associations of things. What does that mean? What's a deeper meaning of that symbol, for instance? Sometimes it comes to me in a song or music or words to a song that I maybe was familiar with but haven't thought about for a long time. Definitely there's physical sensations for me. I can feel into a place of opening or fear or tightness, and I really work to allow that to be alive in my experience without rushing to know what it means. It can also be a feeling or emotion. What is that bringing up? Is it bringing up sadness? Is it bringing up regret? Is it bringing up longing? Is it bringing up joy for no reason, right? So we want to be sure to explore when we get into this state of mindfulness, to be curious, to be playful, right? And just interact with it. We can remind ourselves about gratitude if we need to refocus or find our breath again, and hold that intention for the highest good for self and other and all involved. The trick is when that information comes in and we sit with it for a bit and we come back into the present moment and bring all of our attention back right here rather than have it be expanded necessarily out to the ethers, dancing with multi-dimensional beings and parts of ourself, right? We want to be sure to let that information ruminate, to let it integrate, let it become embodied. And we don't want to immediately think, that means I need to do this right now, or that right now, or I need to understand it with my thinking mind and put a box around it or relate it to something else I've known in the past. We want to really try not to avoid it or cling to it, right? But to be with. Again, the practice of mindfulness continues after the meditation. We want to really let it soak in and inform us. And sometimes for me, that knowing, that subtle ways of knowing comes right away. It's almost like I'm connected on the morphic field, right? That vast field of consciousness. And there's a dance, a call and respond with my intention. And that's non-local there on the field of consciousness, on the morphic field. It's a place where there's entanglement and instantaneous, simultaneous, all that really cool stuff. I've been calling it reciprocating awareness lately. It's almost like there's information that feels like it's coming and going, and that I really get to feel into with my awareness, maybe an awareness that is an answer to my intention. And it's shared, it's blended, and information comes in directly. It's a pretty cool sensation, and one I continue to practice with. I've also noticed other times it opens over time, right? There's this and that, and then this other thing. And back to my story about these online classes, I had did a retreat with my dear friend Nia Claire the end of December, and we had a couple people, maybe more than a couple, a dozen, ask if they could have access to the information some way. So we took that as a request from the universe to create an online course, which will be available sometime this month in February. I'll let you know about that. From that, I was talking to a virtual assistant through the International Consortium of Health and Wellness Coaches, and she said, one of the things we really could use more of is continuing education for our coaches. And I have provided some of that for free to that organization, which I'm a member, because it's such a powerful process, as we know, to continue learning about this mind, body, spirit, and about how to express our full being into the world. So I was out to dinner last Friday night with my colleagues at my office. There are 4 of us women that are all independent entrepreneurs that share space. And I walk in to the Good Earth, and this woman, the waitress, is walking by, and she said, "I just saw you on a video." I said, "Oh." She said, "Yes, I'm applying for this health coaching program, and I just watched your video on mind, body, spirit, mindfulness, and coaching. It was amazing. It's so crazy that you're here right now." And she's enrolling at the University of Minnesota where I teach, and so I'll have her in class. But it was another one of those synchronistic, right, coincidental, intuitive kinds of pieces that this fell into place, and then that fell into place, and then, oh my goodness, these 3 things showed up all at once. So, wow, right? To be able to tap into the multidimensional ways of knowing. It's really quite an interesting time. The barriers between dimensions feel like they are becoming more porous, and there's easier information right here, right now, right in this here and now. I have to tell you another story of a friend of mine, Laura, who recently lost her 13-year-old dog this fall. She was a dear part of all of our lives, that are part of Laura's life. And she knew that she would get another dog. And so Maggie, even in her end days, was communicating back and forth with my friend, her owner, and talking about, well, there's a boy puppy somewhere, dog somewhere, and I can see him. And Laura found him serendipitously online, has picked up Charlie. And Charlie has returned from a place in southern part of the country where it's warm, and a home where they had a doggy door and could come in and out. And Laura lives on the 3rd floor of an apartment building here in Minnesota, and it's winter, it's cold. So she was trying to figure out how to communicate with Charlie about needing to go out and, relieve himself. And he'd had a couple accidents in the apartment. So she had a conversation here, right, in the same format we're talking about, finding this quiet, finding the center within, opening up and moving her attention into a multidimensional place, and having a conversation with Maggie's spirit in that place, and said to Maggie, "I could use your help. We have this issue. I'm wondering if there's a way you can help communicate. How you used to wag your tail or do these sounds and look at me. I knew you wanted something. When I got it right, then you kind of perked up and had this nonverbal way of communicating." Sure enough, the next morning, the new dog, Charlie, gets up, and she's talking to him, and she's watching him listen to her in a different way. Sure enough, says, "Do we have to go outside?" And he starts doing this happy dance. Go outside. She's smiling to herself about communicating on these multi-dimensions in ways that are not with the five senses, right? She thought it might be a fluke. Sure enough, it's continued now, this way of communicating. So how does that happen exactly on that morphic field, that vast field of consciousness? I don't really know. I just know that more and more of us are moving into places where we are able to access this veil is thinner between these levels of consciousness. It's really a way for us to participate in, as my book says, co-creating who we are becoming, right? Full on, in partnership, in ways that make our hearts sing, in ways that are practical. So I really invite you to continue playing with this. I had one more story I'll share with you. I have a client who's been wrapping up, knowing it's coming to the end of her full-time, very structured organizational job, and looking to be part-time and to be more in the mind, body, spirit world, and had an experience of getting ready, setting this intention, sending it out right on the field of consciousness. And lo and behold, had something in her inbox on a Friday, put out a application on a Saturday, had an interview on a Wednesday, got offered the job on a Thursday. And it's this kind of non-local, it's not really following the same rules even of time and space, but this distance between intention and the multiple opportunities coming our way to discern, is it yes, is it no, right? And to be certain, to be willing to take that next step, but to definitely be asking for what we need. So blessings to you during this time in February. Practice moving your attention around into these multidimensional ways of knowing and being, of giving and receiving information. The world is really ready for those of us who can live in a calm, open place, can create from that center within, can hold our own coherence and resonance amidst chaos, and be able to be a beacon of light and love and service on the planet. Blessings to you during February. Be in touch.